These beloved stories were turned into seriously awful films. Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 worst movies based on children's books.
6. Okay. How different does it get?
Don't tell her that.
Children, don't be a jerk, man.
What, Tucker? I'm not.
Okay, children.
Hey. Oh.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we're looking at children's and young adult novels that were adapted into films that just didn't do their source material justice. We're excluding properties where both the book and the movie have received an equal amount of hate, like Twilight.
I don't want to be a monster.
Number 10. Pinocchio. Italian actor Roberto Benigni directed and starred in this adaptation of Carlo Collodi's The Adventures of Pinocchio.
Yes, I want to change.
Are you ready to begin?
I promise. I'll study, I'll work hard, and do everything you tell me to.
You might not realize that this Italian story is actually one of the most widely read books in the world. Whereas Walt Disney's 1940 version is a beloved retelling of this popular tale, saying that Benigni's version falls flat would be an understatement.
Papa, please shut the door. I'm naked, and it's cold in here.
With over 50 professional ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, 2002's Pinocchio came up with the rarely seen 0% rating. One critic went as far as to call it, quote, an unfunny, poorly made, creepy vanity project. Ouch.
You talking to me?
Who else? Fool.
That's it. Listen, Cricket, I'm leaving.
Number 9. The Seeker. The Dark is Rising. Susan Cooper's The Dark is Rising series, which started off with the novel Over Sea, Under Stone, was released in the 1960s and 70s in the UK.
The boy is more capable than I thought. Return to him. Bring me the signs, and you will never age.
The story is a much-loved one that draws comparisons to the Narnia series and Harry Potter. But the 2007 adaptation sadly did not live up to the standards of the young adult movies that came before it. The producers of The Seeker were liberal with changes they made to the plot and characters, making the main character older than he is in the books and an American.
You spent all your time on it. I thought maybe you and I could spend some time on it together.
I always hoped you'd stick to more fulfilling pursuits, like Xbox.
The author was displeased with these alterations, and both critics and audiences agreed that this was one to be skipped. Number 8. Inkheart. Inkheart the book was released in 2003, and the National Education Association ended up naming it one of the teacher's top 100 books for children.
Has your father ever read you a bedtime story, Maggie? You might want to ask him why that is.
Since Cornelia Funke's Inkheart is a book about the magic of reading, you can see why translating the source material to the screen would prove difficult.
If you don't stop shaking, I'm gonna stick you with a pin.
The consensus on Rotten Tomatoes, where the film has a 38% rating, is that it is, quote, heavy on cliches and light on charm. Even with a star-studded cast, this 2009 film just couldn't live up to the whimsy of the book.
I'll never go back. None of us ever will.
Number 7. The Mortal Instruments, City of Bones. Cassandra Clare's The Mortal Instruments series began in 2007 with City of Bones and introduced young adult readers to the paranormal world of shadow hunters and quickly climbed the New York Times bestseller list.
Jesus!
Nope, just me.
The series' legion of fans was thrilled when it was announced that the book would be adapted into a film, but unfortunately, it just didn't deliver.
The werewolves are here to save us. I never thought I'd say that.
The movie depiction of the second book in the series was pushed back and likely canceled due to the failure of the first, though it was turned into a successful TV show in 2016.
You're still the bravest mundane I've ever met.
I'm not a mundane.
Number 6. The Golden Compass. For a book series geared towards young readers, Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials trilogy, which opened with The Golden Compass, is surprisingly complex, touching on heavy themes like death and religion.
Well, if you are his demon, then I will kill you right now.
The film version of the first novel, which was released in 2007, was much anticipated, but the simplified version of the story just didn't manage to capture the dark intrigue of the novel.
It must have been terrible to lose your armor.
It was no less than I deserved.
The book was controversial and received bans in several areas, but the movie essentially neutered the story to ostensibly make it more palatable for a wide audience. We would love to see someone take another crack at this one.
Yes, you didn't know, so I forgive you. Just don't mention it again.
Number 5. Ella Enchanted. Ella Enchanted is a fantastic children's book with a pretty badass feminist message at its core. Yet the silly and lighthearted tone that the filmmakers chose when adapting it weakened many, if not all, of the story's strong points.
I wonder if my opponent has based her opinion on the prince's politics or how cute she thinks his butt is.
In fact, the book's author, Gail Carson Levine, said the movie was, quote, so different from the book that it's hard to compare them.
It's because of stories like Jack and the Beanstalk. Stinking Grimm brothers.
The movie takes on many of the tropes of a typical romantic comedy and loses a lot of the heart the book initially offered.
I am begging you. I will do anything you ask. Please, take it back.
Number 4. Eragon. The story behind the writing of Eragon is almost as mythical as the book itself.
Shall we have another lesson today?
Author Christopher Paolini was only 15 years old when he began writing his first novel, though the initial plotting took place when he was even younger. He self-published the book, but it was eventually picked up by an actual publishing house, and the rest is history.
You can hear my thoughts.
I have waited 1,000 years to hear your thoughts, and now you can hear mine.
Sadly, the 2006 film based on the book pales in comparison to the source material, with much of the plot being changed and the tone shifting into something several reviewers described as silly.
Come on, let's see what you got.
You want speed? Here we go! Hold on, Eragon!
Number 3. Gulliver's Travels. Jonathan Swift's classic satirical novel Gulliver's Travels has been read and reread for centuries since it was initially published in 1726.
I'm invincible.
It's one of English literature's best-known works, and has been adapted countless times on stage, on TV, for radio, and of course for film. Critics agree that this 2010 movie starring Jack Black is one the world didn't really need.
Oh no, sorry about the smell. I've been drinking sewer water.
This is ground for execution!
I know, that was pretty gross.
Nathan Rabin of the AV Club even called it, quote, a lumbering oaf of a movie. The same can be said about its protagonist. The producers seem to rely on special effects rather than any actual depth to bring this story to life.
Wow! Yeah! What is it good for?
Absolutely not!
Say it again!
Number 2. The Giver. This sci-fi novel has been featured on middle school curriculums around the world, and somehow managed to be the one book you were forced to read that you actually liked.
One day you shall meet a boy who answers to the name of Jonas. He shall be the most powerful of all the receivers.
Lois Lowry's The Giver was published in 1993 and was ahead of its time, considering the dystopian craze that would hit more than a decade later. When the film adaptation was announced, readers everywhere were anxious to see how the world they'd imagined in their heads would turn out.
What are you doing?
Take my hand.
Even with a stellar cast, though, the movie version of this story didn't manage to capture the feelings of adventure and excitement of the book. If anything, it just felt like a Hunger Games wannabe.
We are living a life of shadows, of echoes, of faint, distant whispers of what once made us real.
Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions.
Yeah, the politically correct term is satyr. No.
You have no idea what I'm capable of.
Here, fill that hole. I can't do that. I'm all cramped up. My legs are still numb. Can you feel this? Ow! What the heck?
Number 1. The Cat in the Hat. You probably all grew up reading Dr. Seuss books or having your parents read them to you, so they undoubtedly hold a special place in your heart with the rest of your childhood nostalgia.
A monster? Where? That could have gone better.
That's what makes this adaptation of the classically goofy tale so difficult to watch. There might be an inherent problem with trying to adapt a short children's picture book into a feature-length film, because Dr. Seuss's other work, The Lorax, was almost as disappointing. Even on that basis, though, The Cat in the Hat gets virtually nothing about its source material right. Sometimes, stories are just better off being told in print.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from MsMojo and subscribe for new videos every day.